Hi, everyone. My name is Roni Firone, and this is The Bigger Picture, where we sit down with experts to hear about their journeys, their insights, and the big ideas that drive them. Stay tuned for today's episode. I'm very excited to share this episode with you guys. Today, I spoke with Professor Danny Hamiel, who's a clinical psychologist by trade and a researcher, and much, much more. Danny is the head of the Cognitive Behavioral Unit in the Tel-Aviv University Mental Health Center and is the director of the Unit for School Interventions at the Cohen-Harris Center for Resilience, which has been chosen by the Israeli Ministry of Education as the national program for school interventions to promote resilience and help children deal with daily stressors and to cope with trauma. These programs are especially important in cities that are at high risk for mass disasters. Danny has devoted his life to developing programs and interventions that promote well-being in the community and that are scalable. And we speak about how he thinks we can apply the insights of psychology in a way that improves many people's lives rather than just a few. We spoke about CBT, which is a more modern approach to psychotherapy, and what he thinks makes third wave CBT the way to go. I'm an existential psychodynamic fan myself, for all of you psychology buffs out there, which to put simply means that I like to dig deep and find out how our past experiences shape the way we see the world today. But Danny really opened my eyes in this conversation to the strengths of CBT and the amazing changes it can help people make in a relatively short time frame by putting most of the focus on the here and now. Danny's bigger picture is to promote well-being on a larger scale. Danny's work is really inspiring, and I hope that you guys find this conversation useful for promoting well-being in your own lives. Here we go. Hi, Danny. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi.
I would like to give the audience a bit of an origin story on how you came to be a clinical psychologist, what drew you to it, and specifically, I'd like to know if there was ever a moment where you can point back to, where that's when you knew that you wanted to be a clinical psychologist.
Okay. My way was not directly to clinical psychologist, not at all. I never thought I would be a psychologist or clinical psychologist. I started to learn biology in Tel Aviv University, and I thought to do some research, brain research. That was my dream. And then after I finished my BA in biology, I was in my way to register to the second degree, to the master degree. And one of the lectures, one of my teachers just crossed my way and asked me where I'm going to. And I said, I'm going to register for the master degree. And he said, why? And I was surprised about this question. I said, what do you mean, why? I want to be a researcher. I want to be a brain researcher. And he told me, you know what, let's come to my laboratory. And we went up to his laboratory in the university. I remember it as it was yesterday, 6th floor. And he told me, look around you. I said, okay. He said, that's what you want to do in your life? And I said, yes. And he said, well, sorry to tell you that, but I don't think that you'll be a good researcher. I said, why?
Interesting.
Why do you say that? And he said, you're not stubborn enough. You're not obsessive enough in order to be a researcher. And I think you have to work with people.
Wow.
It was a shock for me.
Yeah, what a revelation.
Yes, and just to hear it from my teacher, I mean, not even a very close person to me. And I went home, went through a white night, some tears, and then I said, he's right. But yeah, still, I was in my way to philosophy, and I learned philosophy first.
And was this
then I found out
just
again the first degree.
Okay.
In philosophy from the beginning. The second year, I already knew it's not my direction.
Why not? What did
because
you
it was
feel?
too abstract, not really with people. Okay,
Right.
And I knew it's not enough for me, but I finished. I finished philosophy, and then I went to psychology, and yet it wasn't to be a clinical psychologist. It was never crossed my mind. Even when I finished my first degree in psychology, I never thought I would be a psychologist. And I went to learn clinical psychology just for interest.
Amazing.
That's it. And I think that the first time I realized I am going to be a clinical psychologist was when one of my teachers in psychology explained me that the goal of therapy is not to dig in the life of individual, but to help him to get out of himself. Because it really looks to me, I didn't like the idea of digging in the life of a person.
The psychodynamic, psychoanalytic
Right.
approach.
And it was like too narcissistic for me to dig in one person's life. But at the time that he opened for me a new world, a new with some new attitudes and psychotherapies that are not related to psychodynamic, I opened my eyes and I said, well, maybe I can do that. If the purpose is just to overcome your own life, to get out of your life and not to be stuck in your life.
To get out of the rut that you're in.
Yes. You see, even when I think even today about anxiety, for example, or depression, it looks like, why you're so important to be anxious about yourself? It's always about you and you and you and you. And you have to overcome this kind of looking about yourself only in order to overcome anxiety or to overcome depression. And in my way, I choose in different directions that help me to do that. Different psychotherapists that was not directed inside the person to find out what's going on inside, but to help the person to get out. And a good example of that, maybe some of the audience knows it. It's related to Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
And the logotherapy of Viktor Frankl. I think that when I realized that I can help people to look for meaning in their lives and to see the meaning as a tool to get out of your problems.
Right.
I said, well, that's it. I like it.
Amazing. And just to give people a bit of a background, in a sentence, can you tell us what Viktor Frankl's big message is? It is meaning, but...
Yes. Viktor Frankl was a big trouble for Freud and his friends.
True.
Because he said that things could be more simple. That in order to overcome that the anxiety or the depression are getting into the emptiness of the person, the vacuum. And if you feel the vacuum, if you feel this emptiness of the person with meaning, then you can get rid of the anxiety and the depression. So all his therapy, the logotherapy, the meaning therapy, was to help people to search for meaning as a main tool in psychotherapy.
And I think, we jumped into it already, but one of the things that is important to understand around meaning is that you do find it oftentimes in the service of others or coming out of yourself and through assuming responsibility.
Exactly, you got it. That's exactly to get out of yourself and relate it to other people. You always find the meaning outside and not inside. And he was famous about his saying that the door for meaning is a door outside and not the door inside.
Incredible. And that goes against a lot of thinking today of we have this whole field of self-help, right? Which is a very self-centered approach. It is very much focusing on yourself and your own betterment. And this is a very different voice from what we're used to.
Not necessarily, because you can do self-help. I mean, you can work on self-help material that relate to this stuff, to go out of yourself. So self-help, it's an area, it's a big area today. Even the therapy by the internet is self-help. I mean, not Zoom therapy, okay, or writing therapies that you write to your chat therapy. It's not self-help. Self-help is that you are standing in front of a computer program. That the computer program is a kind of smart machine, okay, that can give you answers, but actually you're talking to yourself,
Right.
and you're treating yourself. And of course, specific self-help books doing the same. You're talking to yourself, so it's a good self-help. It's not necessarily bad.
Right. It doesn't necessarily have to go down a path of narcissism or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
Okay. So as you were saying, you found this approach that focused more on helping people come out of themselves, and that was much more different than the psychoanalytic approach. So can you tell us a bit about this approach that you found, and give it a name, and what about it do you connect with and think is effective?
Okay, I think that first of all, it was a humanistic psychotherapy, like by William Rogers and his friends. And what I found in these areas is the belief in the freedom of a person, of the individual, that you can relate to your freedom, that you can get in touch to your freedom. And the past is not necessarily an obstacle. Like you don't have necessarily to solve your past in order to go ahead and to find some new things in your life. Because in psychoanalytic theory and practice, you deal with the past. You have to solve something.
You have to deal with it until...
Yes, you have to find a solution to your... First of all, you have to understand what is the source of your problem, and then you have to solve it in some way. And in the humanistic fields of psychotherapy, you don't have to do that. You have to find the power, and many times the power is... You get the power from relationship in order to overcome your problem. And it's true that sometimes if you have like deep problems, you have difficulties to relate to other people. So many times the purpose of therapy is directly to help you how to relate to other people, how to create more equal relationship with other people, how to learn how to be assertive, and these are the specifically humanistic theories. Catch my mind, and I thought this is a way. And actually, Viktor Frankl is one of them. Is also related to the humanistic approaches. But when I do my internship in psychology, it was dynamic. It was completely dynamic. And my supervisors, they were very nice to me. They understood that I'm doing something different, but they respected that and said, it's okay, as long as you know what you're doing, even though it's not our way, it's okay. And till today, I'm really grateful for that they...
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were very open for that. But then when I finished my internship, one turning point was that there was a big strike, a big psychologist strike in Israel. And it was, for a good reason, because salary of psychologists in the public service is always low. But nobody cares. Nobody. It was like, who cares? Who cares when psychologists are on strike? A few months before there was a physician stroke, and all the country was like around it. And
up in arms about it.
Yes, who cares about psychologists? And first I was insulted a little bit, and I said, how come? I learned so many years for that, and nobody cares. And then I asked, what is my contribution to the community? How many people can I help?
The scale of it.
Yes. Like my wife is a physician. She is a pediatrician. And she's treating 10, 20 kids a day. And if I'm doing psychodynamic therapy, and most psychologists at that time, I'm talking about the 90s, most psychologists did psychodynamic therapy, then maybe I can do 20 sessions a week. And if average psychotherapy is 2 years, it means that I can help 10 people a year. She's doing it a day.
Wow.
And I said, well, maybe this is a good reason why nobody cares, because our impact on society is so small.
That the only group that's
very, very small group of people can be helped by that, can get some benefit of that. So I wonder, maybe I'm doing something wrong. And that's when I went to the US and I learned CBT.
Okay.
I learned cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a psychotherapy. First of all, it's much shorter therapy. So around 3, 6, 4 months compared to 2 years. And it was more direct, more simple, deals with the present, deal with the coping models of the person, more common sense for people. And I found it much better for me and for my patient. I mean, if you want to say a few words about the CBT principles,
yes,
it's really simple. It's like usually we blame reality on our problems. Like we can say, I am depressed because my wife left me. But if it's so, why do you go to psychotherapy? If the reason is that your wife left, so how can I help you? Okay, do you really expect me to
change reality?
To change reality, right? To talk to your wife? No. Okay, there should be some mediator between reality and my reaction and my emotion. And for CBT, it was my beliefs, my thoughts. So if, for example, I believe that I'm okay, and although I lost my wife and I loved my wife, I probably will find another partner for myself. I'll be sad, but I will not be depressed. But if my belief is that I'm a loser, and there was one chance in my life that one woman agreed to be with me, and now even she doesn't want to be with me, and that's it, then I'll be depressed. So the goal of therapy is my belief system, is my thoughts. So if I can make my thought more realistic, more balanced, not so extreme, I can change my emotion. So if, for example, instead of saying, nobody will love me anymore, I'll say something like, well, I had a few girlfriends before my wife. Although as I'm very sad, probably I have a good chance in the future to have a new relationship. Then I will not be depressed. So it's so simple. Just change the attitude, change your belief system, and you'll not suffer. You'll not have bad emotion.
Right. Now, okay, so one of my questions here is CBT sometimes gets attacked, so to speak, because it can seem mechanistic, right? It can seem, like you said, almost too simple because belief systems are something that's so built in, so inherent. They develop over years and they do develop early on. So changing these belief systems, how do you see CBT really being able to change these belief systems? Because as the example that you gave, it's easy in the moment to rationalize that, to think about something in a completely different framework of, instead of thinking I'm a loser and my wife left me because of that, and actually saying, okay, I've had some good relationships, maybe I can find another woman in the future. There's something that maybe in the moment can give you relief, but how do you make these new beliefs lasting? That's my question.
Okay, so CBT is not only cognitive.
Right.
It's cognitive behavioral.
Right.
So after I realized that my cognition is extreme, it's not enough, because I can say, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but that's what I feel. Okay, I can say, it doesn't make sense. Really, I had relationship before my wife. So why do I feel like that? Okay, so there is a kind of gap between what I feel and what I think. Okay, rationally, I can understand. You can say to your therapy, I can understand you're right. I don't have a reason to feel like that, but that's the way I feel. And then come the behavioral part. So now you have to behave as if you believe that you will have new relationship. Okay? So
you can't just talk the talk, you need to walk the walk,
yes,
so to speak.
Right. You have to do that. You have to try to start a new relationship. Okay? You have to change your behavior against your emotion. So that's tough. It's not easy. And CBT will give you some help doing that. Some techniques how to calm down your emotions and being able to balance your emotion in order to be able to change your behavior.
Right.
But then you have to change your behavior. And after like many times that you will act against your emotion, then your attitudes will start changing.
I think that's a really important point, because when you do act as if, right, in the sense of fake it till you make it, right? You do behave as if you believed these healthier attitudes. Something that happens is that you're overriding, your subconscious belief systems that you had beforehand. You're creating these healthier beliefs, and you're almost creating muscle memory. All of a sudden, you know how to interact with people in a healthier way. You notice that you if it's, for instance, social anxiety, you can see that, people do respond well to me when I handle the situation, handle my anxiety, and just take that leap of faith at first. And I think that's an important point also with CBT is, and everything that you've said so far, there is this leap of faith that happens, that needs to happen at the beginning of therapy, where the person needs to really want to change and to believe that they can change.
Right. And actually it's not really fake it.
Okay.
Because it's a fake when you compare it to your emotion, but not to your thinking, because you say, I understand that I'm wrong. I understand that I'm exaggerating. So I don't have to fake a belief. The only problem is that I don't feel my belief. Like I can say, well, I have a good chance to have a new relationship here, okay, in my mind, okay? But in my heart, I feel like no chance.
The visceral reaction you're getting is there's no chance.
Right. So it's fighting against your emotion. It's not really fake, because you're a rational person, and you can say, I believe it's possible, but I don't feel like it's possible. So that's why you need somebody sometimes to push you to change your behavior. And actually, when you're depressed, when you're really depressed, and the main technique in CBT is actually to push you to do things against your, it's like, just do it. For example, if you stay at home and you can't move, like you said, I can't do anything. And then I will tell you, we call it activating. Okay, we tell the person, you know what, can you make yourself a cup of coffee? And he will say, well, I can, but what for? Life or nothing, I'm this. What for? Why? Can you do that? If you can do that, do it. Okay, so first day, make a cup of coffee for yourself. Okay. Second day, can you make a cup of coffee for your girlfriend? I can, but what for? I hate her. I don't like her. I hate life. What for? Can you do that? Okay, do it. So second day, I will make a cup of coffee for my friends, and so on. So you activate the person till the moment that he will start feeling good, better, that he's really activating his life, and then he will continue by himself. Now, third wave CBT.
Yes.
Okay, it's a completely different story.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, it's a completely different story. And I moved to third wave CBT Because I thought that when you are telling the person, when you give a person alternative way of thinking, like instead of saying, I don't have hope, saying, well, I have hope, but it's difficult for me to believe in, whatever, he knows it. Like if a person will say after, I don't know, if a child will say, nobody loves me, after one of his friends didn't like to play with him. And he will say, nobody loves me. And you will come to him and say, no, it's not true. Like, let's say that you're his mother or his sister. Okay, I love you. It's not going to help him. Because when he's saying nobody loves me, it doesn't mean that he count all the people around him and he found out that nobody loves him. What he will say is, I feel like nobody loves me. I know that it's not true. So I don't need a therapist to tell me that my way of thinking is extreme. I know it, and it's not going to help me. So many times in CBT, and that's one of the disadvantages of CBT, that you get to the point that you start fighting with your patient,
Right.
trying to convince him that he is exaggerating. And it's not the right way because actually he knows that. And that's not the issue. The issue is, again, that he feels different.
Right.
So,
and this conversation, this dialogue that develops of these are the reasons you shouldn't be feeling this emotion don't help you get out of the
Right.
emotion.
Right. It even makes you even more stupid. How come you feel like that if it doesn't make any sense?
It makes you feel crazy.
Right. You're crazy. Okay. And I would say when I'm doing third wave CBT, I would say, you're right. You're right. I mean, I'm not fighting with you. If you feel like that, you feel like that. But let's say, what's your problem? What is your problem? Is your problem right now that nobody loves you? Or is your problem is that you feel right now or think right now that nobody loves you? Okay? For example, when you are asleep, you don't feel it. Okay? You feel okay. Okay? You feel it now because it's in your mind. And our purpose is not to change your mind. Our purpose is to help you to contain the thought, to contain the emotions that related to the thought, and not let the emotion and the thought to activate you. So we completely ignore the cognitive issue or the rational issue. Maybe you're right. Maybe nobody loves you. Yet, this kind of thought activate you in the wrong direction. Actually, many times it will bring you act against your own values, against yourself. So, for example, if you have social anxiety, okay, and you are afraid to talk when other people are around you, and now let's say that you're a student, and you raise your hand to talk in class, and you have this feeling, it's not good. Everybody's going to laugh at me. It's a disaster. Okay. Now, I can't convince you that this will not happen. I can't convince you. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe everybody will laugh at you. Now, a second wave CBT or classical CBT will say, see, many times other people are doing mistakes and nobody laughs at them and it's okay. I know that.
Right. It's a rationalization of it.
Right. I know that. I don't need you to tell me that. What I have to do is to be able to survive this emotion and to look at this emotion as a sign of challenging and not as a sign of a threat, and to overcome it and agree to feel the negative emotion.
Amazing.
So one of the big difference is that in a classical CBT, you try to fix the negative emotion. In third wave CBT, you learn how to have the negative emotion. We don't call it negative emotion. We call it unpleasant emotion. You have to learn how to stay with that and see that you can survive it in order not to act against your values, because you want to be part of the group.
Right.
Okay?
I think that's makes all the difference when you don't try to fight the unpleasant emotion. You don't try to rationalize out of it, but you realize that even if you're experiencing this, whether it's social anxiety, depression that's not letting you get out of bed, whatever it is, understanding that you have so much strength within you that you can overcome these challenges. And I think within that, especially in therapy, there's this also, the therapist is accepting your emotion. They're telling you, I understand. It's sometimes it might even be legitimate,
Right.
to be scared, because life can be scary, and there's a lot of things that whether it's the social anxiety, people can laugh at you, and I understand your emotion, but despite the emotion, how can we get you to do the most with your life, right? And to overcome it, and to learn that you have a lot more potential within you, that you don't need to succumb to the negative emotion.
This is a critical point, and I can give you at least one example how the way that you relate to the unpleasant emotion is critical to the way you will behave and to the change that you can create. And just one example is a young woman who came to me after she failed 6 times in driving test.
Oh, wow.
And she came to me at the night before the 7th. And I told her, well, you are a little bit exaggerating if you think that in one evening we can change everything. And she said, you know what, give me a tip. Give me a tip what to do. And I said, okay, tell me what's happened in your test. And she said, when the tester is entering the car and sitting near me, at the moment that he's sitting in the car, I feel that I am out of breath, that my heart is beating very fast, that I'm sweating, and I know I'm going to fail. And I say, why do you say that? That's a good sign. That's a good sign that you really want to be successful in the test.
Right, you're taking it seriously.
Right, your body is reacted. Everything is going up. That's the way it should be.
Yep.
It's alert, right? That's the way it should go. Why do you think this is signs that you are going to lose again the game? And she said, I never thought about that. And I said, well, next time, tomorrow, okay, when this will happen, tell yourself that the reason why you feel all these sensations in your body is the fact that you are challenging yourself. It's very important for you to be successful, to get this license, and your body is reacted for that, and that's really good. But it could be the only reason why it was bad in the past is because you were scared because of the symptoms. You gave a wrong interpretation to the symptoms, and then you were scared, and the symptoms get stronger and stronger.
Right.
This time it will not happen because you will tell yourself that it's fine, it's okay.
And did she pass?
She passed the test.
Wow.
She passed the test, and I asked her later what's happened. She says that was exactly what happened. She said, I was paying attention to myself, and this is maybe the first things that you have to do when you want to create a change, is to pay attention to yourself, to what's going on inside. I gave the new interpretation to what's going on. I looked at the unpleasant emotion as something that is necessary here, something that say I am challenging myself because I can leave the car and I will come down immediately. And that's it. And she did well. And I have a few other examples of that.
Incredible.
Why this is so important.
Another example of the interpretations that we can give, there was a little study that they did where they asked Olympic athletes before competition, how do you feel? And they described all of the physical symptoms, heart rate accelerating, I'm a little out of breath, I'm very alert, I'm very focused, but they called it excited.
Right.
But they gave all of the same physical descriptions that people give for anxiety. So it's really that label that we give it, the interpretation. And sometimes, you don't need to sugarcoat it and say that you're excited. You can say that you're stressed, but have that be your challenge and
right.
know
You
that
don't
you
have
can
to
overcome
say
it.
excited. Excited
Right.
is a little bit too much to
It's
ask
a
for a
little
person under stress. Maybe at athletics they can do that, but for a normal person,
it's okay to say I'm scared, but I'm going to do it. And I think the respect that you gain for yourself when you are scared of something, but you do go out and do it is so therapeutic. And it's I think that's where self-esteem really lies, when you overcome challenges, not by being super positive and optimistic about everything, but being realistic and saying, okay, this is hard for me, but I'm going to do it anyway.
And that's why, and I completely agree with you, it's not so easy. Okay, no. It's not so easy, but it's simple. I mean, the idea is really simple. And that's why when we think about giving this therapy to many people, it's easier to do, or by people who are not mental health professional, it will be easy to do third wave CBT than CBT. And at the moment I realize, and I get back now to the strike, to psychology strike.
Yes.
I talked before, when I said I must do something different if I want to be important for the community. If I want to affect community, one of the things that I thought about was to use mediators, not to only to do psychotherapy, but to use mediators in order to get to many people.
Okay, and when you say mediators, what do you mean?
Okay, so the first chance to check that and to explain that was in Turkey, 1999. It was a big, huge earthquake. Like 30,000 people died in this earthquake.
Wow.
And we came from Israel to Turkey to help. And we thought, what can we do? So many people. How can you help so many people? And it was the ideas of one of my friends. He's also a teacher now in the IDC, Professor Leo Vollmer. He said, why don't we use the teachers in schools? So what we do, we touch teachers to teach the kids stress management techniques and principles. And I think that was the first time that we do it, but this was after trauma. So it wasn't therapy, okay? And yet it is through mediators, so we can, how many people we can treat. But if we can treat like 10 teachers and each teacher can teach 30 kids, we can teach 300 kids in a very short time.
Right, the scalability of something like that is so much greater.
And the results were amazing, like the decrease in PTSD symptoms in a month and a half was by 50% compared to other students who didn't go through this program. When we came back to Israel, I thought, why do we have to wait for a traumatic event? Let's do it as prevention.
Right, you don't have to wait for the crisis to hit.
And we know that like in the Western world, every moment 25% of the people suffer from psychiatric disorders. 1 of 4 person in the Western world is suffering from psychiatric disorder. It's a huge number. There's no chance you can get to so many people. So the idea was prevention. And we started it like 20 years ago. And our first chance to check it, to make a good research, was in 2007, before a war in the southern part of Israel, when we had the chance to get to half of the students, elementary school students in Ashkelon, a small town in the southern part of Israel. And we have the lucky of researcher, like we have a chance only to help 50% of the students.
Right.
It was the first year of the program. So we went to the half of the schools in Ashkelon, and then there was a war. And the program was not about war, okay? The mediator, the teachers were teaching the kids how to deal with normal challenges. Like my father was shouting at me, and my friends did not ask me to one of a party or whatever, invite me to a party.
The usual concerns.
Usual challenges of a kids. No wars, no earthquakes, nothing. And then we got exactly the same results. Like we have 50% less PTSD kids in the group that went through the program compared to the other kids who didn't go through the program. So this is really what I think it was the first study in the world that show that is that you can do universal prevention. Like it's not preventing, suicide or preventing eating disorders or preventing bullying. It is universal prevention.
I think it's a proof of concept that you can have a global impact, right? You can have an impact on the collective well-being of an entire group on a large scale. And we think of therapy, we think of mental health as this very individualistic thing, but here there was a community that you were able to help of kids.
Right. This was my dream. And actually, this year we are giving the program to the Educational Ministry of Israel, and it's going to be a official part of the official educational program of every student in Israel. Like every student in Israel is going to get resilience program a few times in his life, like in the kindergarten, second grade, sixth grades, and then at the 10th grade.
Okay.
And this is by the Cohen-Harris Resilience Center that I'm part of it. I'm not the only person there. And right now we are just giving all the material to the Israeli Ministry of Education, and already about 800,000 students already went through the program.
That's
in
incredible.
Israel.
That's incredible. That can really make lasting change and very, very substantial impact. I want us to kind of break down this idea of resilience. Like you said, it's a resilience program. I want to get into the building blocks of what that means, right? First, a few examples maybe of the intervention itself and what you teach the teachers and what they pass on to the children. And then let's get a bit into what is resilience.
Okay. Maybe go the other direction.
Okay.
Maybe let's just say first what is resilience, and then how can we deliver resilience to the kids, or not only to the kids, because it's not only a program for kids.
Okay, let's do it.
We do the program from age actually 3 months to 80.
Wow.
All really big variety of ages. And what we think is that when the world outside is not, let's say how to say, cooperating with us. Like
we don't get what we want.
Exactly. And this happened many times. Okay, and there is a gap between our expectation and what we have. So there is frustration. And resilience is how to deal with this frustration, of this gap between what we have and what we like to have. And there are three main areas in which we can find the gap. First of all is in ourselves. We want to be more beautiful, more smart. We want to be more strong. We're not satisfied with ourselves. One reason for frustration. Another reason of frustration is the relation to other people. We want other people to love us, to appreciate us, and it's not always the story. So there is another frustration. And the last frustration is life. Destiny. Things happen to us that we cannot control. And in all these three areas, although we don't have complete control, we have some control. Like if you're not satisfied with ourselves, we can challenge ourselves. We can try to be better. Okay? We can try to improve ourselves. At the area of relationship, we can be good from outside, okay, and try to make good relationships. So it's not completely not up to us if people will like us or will appreciate us. And even destiny is not something that, we have to be responsible people. Okay, like we have to take care of ourselves, to drive carefully and so on. So in all these three areas, we can have some control, but the problem is when we try to get complete control.
Mm-hmm.
If we insist to be like something that we cannot be, if we insist that a specific person will like us, he has to like me, or he has to love me, or to appreciate me. And when we, for example, insist that we'll get safely from here to Paris, 100%. If we want 100% confidence that we'll get safely to Paris, probably we'll not go to Paris.
Right.
Okay? And if we want 100% to be sure that if I will ask a girl to date, she will say yes, I will not ask her to date me.
Right. I like this idea of when you need 100% control or predictability, then you become paralyzed.
Right.
You can't move because you can never have 100%.
Right. So you'll not have control at all. So we are talking about safeness instead of safety.
Okay.
Safeness is a feeling. I want to have safeness means sense of control, not control.
Right. And I think there's also belief in yourself in the sense of knowing that you can do hard things and knowing that even if something unpredictable, something that you weren't expecting comes up at you, you'll still be able to know how to circumvent it and handle it.
And if you want to try to predict everything, you'll be paralyzed. Exactly like that. So teaching resilience is to teach how to do that. The problem is, and this is really related to third wave CBT, what we said before, is that in order to do that, in order to be satisfied with safeness and not making sure that you are safe, then you have to accept unpleasant emotion. You have to accept that your brain is many times going in another direction. Your brains many times want safety, insists that you have safety. Your brain will tell you, don't get to this girl. She will say no. Don't do that. Don't take the risk. Okay? Our brain really wants us to feel good. So in a way, he's against challenging ourselves.
Right.
He's telling you, stay at your area, at your safe area. That's the best thing.
Stay in the familiar. Yeah.
Right, it's familiar. Stay there. Here you're okay. Don't do that. So many times we have to fight with our brain. So one of the main things is, or the things that we have to teach people in order to improve their resilience is, first of all, to pay attention that the brain many times say the opposite. That the brain is telling you, don't do that. Or you have to do that. You have to make this girl love you. Okay? And then in order to know, so first of all, you have to pay attention for that. And then in order to know not only not to go to this direction, but what direction to go, we have, and that's what we do in third wave CBT, you have to identify your values.
Okay.
You have to identify what is really important for you, and then see the conflict where your brain is directing you to another direction. Like, for example, if you want intimacy with a girlfriend, with a woman, if you want, I don't know, a shoulder to put your head on, and really some good relationship, even if you like sex, okay, if that's one of your values or part of your values, and if you insist on one girl and she's saying no, you're going to lose everything, okay, because you are targeting this girl, say, that's it, she has to be that, and then you lose your values. You're missing everything. So this girl is a goal, it's not a value.
Right,
okay?
It's putting things in perspective.
Right, in perspective, and it's even more than perspective. It's like you're missing your value if you insist that it's going to be her. Because then you're going to lose everything.
Right, you've narrowed your focus so much. And I think your whole description so far, there's this stoic idea of all we can control is our attitude towards something, but we can't control what anybody else does.
Right. So if I want to make it more practical, then I would say I have to learn how to manage my internal world when the external world is not playing exactly as I like it to play. So when I'm talking about my internal world, I'm talking about my physiology, I'm talking about my cognition, about my emotion, my focus of attention. So when we are teaching the program, we are working on all these dimensions, about all these dimensions. So it will be, for example, on the physiological dimension, we are teaching slow breathing.
Beautiful.
Which is extremely important technique.
It's so powerful. It's so simple and it's so effective.
Simple, it's effective. It's effective not only emotionally, but also physically. I mean, there are hundreds or thousands of studies that shows how this is working. And we did, even in the IDC with my student, we did 2 studies. The first one we finished and we published how slow breathing as a unique technique helps people with test anxiety. And now we're doing it with PTSD. So breathing is a very powerful technique by itself, just by itself. People who learn how to slow the breath.
Right. You can really bring the whole nervous system from a state of anxiety, of a stress response, to a relaxation response. And I think that's important to just communicate to people, because they might associate breathing as this, new age kind of practice, but it's so scientifically proven and it's so effective.
See, people are doing breathing for 2,000 years.
Right. So it must be
not
working.
New. It's not new in any way. And it's working, and it should working, and it's working. And sometimes it's easier to explain it not as a relaxation technique, but as a balancing technique. Okay, usually if you are under a lot of stress, if you do your breathing, like if you are 10 out of 10, you don't get to 1. But many times you don't have to get to 1. Okay, you get from 10 to 7. 10, you're not efficient. 7, you can do it. You can do it with stress. So it's more fitting your physiology to the situation than relaxation.
Right.
It's more adapting to the right level of stress.
Right, the
that you have to be.
Optimal level of stress to function.
Right. So breathing, and there are some exercise of muscle relaxation, which are very important. And even the pose of your body is important. Like we know that in a specific, like the ways that you're sitting, for example.
Right.
Like if you look just straight forward, or if you look down, your way of thinking will be different.
Right. These poses that we assume completely change our physiology as well. It's a two-way highway.
Right. It's go 2 directions, and although there are some dispute about the studies,
right? We
know that. I mean, it's important. The posture of your body is important in many cases. Maybe not as it's not a solution. Okay, it's not enough that you will change your posture and sit. I don't know, in a strong way.
Right, the power pose. They have the power poses.
It's not enough. But if it's part of other things that you're doing, it's really help. We know it's very important. So this is physiology. Okay, we are working we are doing some emotional techniques. For example, naming. Naming of the emotion. We know that when you give a name to your emotion, there is a even dramatic reduce at the level of your emotion. Like if you are, for example, I don't know, very angry, and you just stop and say to yourself, how do I feel right now? Say, I'm angry. your emotion is going down dramatically.
And I think, first of all, that's amazing. And I think that it's partly due to this idea that, when we have an emotional response to something, sometimes there's a call to action there. And when you name your emotion, it's telling the brain, okay, I've understood what's going on. I'm aware. I've gotten the signal enough now, right? And it paves the way to deal with the emotion and to deal with the situation that elicited the emotion.
And we did it with, not we, but people, researchers did it with functional MRI to prove that this is working. As the amygdala is going down, the activity in the amygdala is decreasing dramatically when you name your emotion, and there is a lot of more action at the more cognitive area of the brain when you do that. And one very nice application of that is in the kindergarten. Mm-hmm. When we teach the kids to identify 4 emotions, like happiness, anger, sadness, and fear. And in the kindergarten that we are working, each child, when he comes to the kindergarten, he has to choose a sticker with the face that show his emotion, and stick it on his drawer, on his private drawer.
Wow!
The first thing that he's doing when he's getting to the kindergarten. And the teacher said that this is really amazing, but many kids that used to come to the kindergarten very stressful or angry or afraid to leave their mother, they're just taking the sticker, like, say, afraid, put it in the drawers and get into the kindergarten.
That's amazing.
Just playing.
There's something in that where, first of all, it's directing their attention to emotions, where a lot of times we don't teach kids to even pay attention to what they're feeling. And then there's the naming, the emotion. And then there's this other part of owning your emotion and being okay to communicate how you're feeling.
And the last thing is recognition. Mm-hmm. Like they got recognition to their emotion. Mm-hmm. Like the teacher will say, I see that you are angry right now. And surprisingly enough, it's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I'm angry and I get into the kindergarten. Now that I'm angry. That's it. Enough.
It's amazing how empathy is so simple and so effective, and it's really all we need, right? To have our emotional state seen by somebody else. It's so healing, and to have kids learn this early on, I'm just thinking of what an incredible impact it will have on their relationships later on, to have these tools and this knowledge.
So it's exciting to do it with young people, mm-hmm. but at the same time, it's exciting to do it with old people.
Okay.
And we do it in people 80 years old. And I must be honest, I think that the best part of what we are doing.
Wow.
I like it.
Tell us about that.
Because, it's to deal with challenges of young age, it's obvious. But what about the challenges of old age, of the third age? Their challenge is not so nice. Their challenge is like, I don't know, how to lose abilities with respect.
Yeah, gracefully. And that's not an easy task.
Right. It's amazing how much power, strength they got from this kind of workshop. The people who are giving the workshop were people who just retired themselves. So they are looking for meaning for their own life. They're learning the tools, they're learning the techniques on themselves. And then they give it to people 80, 85 years old to help them deal with elderly. And we get great results with that. It looks like, people who are really have many complaints about their kids. Nobody's coming to they forgot about me. I'm not important anymore. They learn how to listen, how to pay attention to the kids, and the kids is giving back big one. Like when they learn, for example, one of them told us, every time I called my daughter, she said she's busy. He doesn't have time to talk to me. And then we ask him, what time do you call? What time of the day you call her? So, six in the afternoon. So, 6 in the afternoon. She has small kids. That's the awful time to call her.
That's dinner and bath time.
Right. Don't do that. Don't do that. Ask her what is the best time for you to call her and see what is the difference. And next time he said, my daughter was she was astonished by my question.
Wow.
Like that I can see her. Yeah. That I can see her and I'm not just thinking about myself, and she gave me back. I mean, next week she was there with the kids to come to me. That's just a small example.
Yeah, but it's amazing how these little things, right, where you show someone that you do see them, it at the end of the day, especially in a parent-child relationship, we do want to give back to each other. Right. But there's, in these little moments of miscommunication, a lot of times things, fall through the cracks and we aren't able to reach each other.
Right. And this is a small example. They learn how to, for example, to use a cane is not losing control, but having control. Like to know when to give up. What is the right time to give up? And it's not really giving up. Okay, it's a way of control to know when to give up. So this is an important point in their life. And mainly, and this is maybe the most important technique in all our program, is the techniques that related to attention. Okay. To how to focus your attention at the direction that is good for you. For example, if I have a negative thought, instead of fighting with the thought and what I have to, or trying to push the thought out of my mind, but we know it's impossible, is how to contain it, how to broaden your attention. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's say, for example, that I have a pain somewhere in my body. Automatically, all my attention is to the pain. Okay, but the pain is necessary right now. I can't help it. There's nothing I can do about my pain. I can focus on my pain, it will be disaster. Okay, I can try not to think about it, it will be impossible. What I will do is I will broaden my attention to include in it the pain. Okay, the pain is part of it, is part of my attention, but it's small part of my attention.
Right, you zoomed out.
Yes, exactly. We zoom out, the pain is there, but my attention is much broader, and now I can choose what direction I want to go, what direction I want to choose right now to walk on, to behave, to anything that I want to do right now. So we teach, and this is related to techniques that related to mindfulness and how to accept. It's related to accept the emotion, the negative thought and negative emotion, not fight with it, but not focus on it in order to be able to be functional. So broaden attention is one of our main goals. For example, if you're doing a test and your attention, and I don't know, there are 10 questions, and then you try the first one, no, you don't know the answer. Second one, you don't know the answer. Now you tell yourself, what are my chances? I didn't know the first two questions. No chance I will be able to have a good grade in this test. If I will keep staying in this way of thinking, probably I'm going to fail the test. So what I have to do is I have to say to myself, shit, okay, that's it. I don't like it. But I agree not to find a solution right now to the problem. And what I will do is I will have a full test. Okay, and I will go now to question number 3 as with my bad feeling, okay, as this is the first question for me today. So I have this bad feeling, but I'm not focusing on it, and I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm not trying to say, well, it will be okay. No, it will not be okay. Okay, I don't feel like it's going to be okay. So I accept it. I accept the negative feelings, and I get to question number 3.
Right. I think that's, if you take that into a broader perspective, basically there's all sorts of things in our life that aren't working the way we want them to. And when we broaden our attention towards other areas, we realize that there's a lot of stuff happening in our life that is going the right way. There is a lot to either be happy about, be grateful for. We do have a lot of strengths, even if certain aspects of our life aren't cooperating with us.
This is nice if this is working.
Right.
It's like more, why look at that? Look at the other side. The other side is beautiful. Look at the beautiful side. But this, as you said before, even for, it's not working all the time.
Right.
Because I want this to work well. I don't care that the other areas are good. I want this to be okay. And that's the point that you have to say, okay, accept it that it's not working right now. Okay? I'm not trying to tell you that it's okay.
Yeah, I'm not sugarcoating it.
Okay?
It sucks.
It's not nice.
Yeah.
It's not nice. Okay? But I'm asking you not to focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not even to focus on the nice thing.
Yeah, you don't have to shift your attention away from it completely.
Accept it, include it in your attention, and ask yourself, what is the right thing for you to do right now? What are your values? What direction you want to go? And go this direction. This is important because it's also include the issue of respecting the desires of the people. Like even if your desire looks impossible, I will never tell any of my patients, it's too much for you. You can't do that. I will never tell him that. I will tell him, okay, do you agree to be in your way?
To trust the process.
Right. Just start in this direction. You'll find your way. If you find that it's not right for you, go left or right. But just do it. And I can give you, I don't know how many times we have, how much time we have, but this is a really funny example.
Yes, please.
Okay. It's a patient who, many years ago, he gave me a permission to tell the story because it's a really funny story. Found to be a funny story. He came to me and he said that he was really depressed because his girlfriend left him 2 years before, and he was depressed. And he stopped his life. He was no dating other girls, he was not working, maybe half-time, really depressed. And I asked him what he did during these 2 years. Did he go to other psychologists? He said, yes, I go to therapy. It didn't work. I said, why didn't it work? And he said, I went to one therapist and she said, it's a big issue. You're obsessive about your ex-girlfriend and I have to help you to get rid of this obsession. And we need some time to talk about your childhood, to see why you developed this kind of relationship and so on. Now, he was suffering a lot. He was like sending, dozens of messages every day to his girlfriends. You have to be with me. You ruin our lives. You did a big mistake. And for some reason, she didn't, blocked him for some reason. He was really depressed, but he didn't want to give up his obsession to the girl. So he said, no, this therapy is not good for me. So he didn't really go to this therapy, one session. And then he went to another, this was probably psychodynamic therapy. Then he go to another therapist and he told him, well, you're obsessive. Again, the same thing. You're obsessive. I can help you get rid of the obsession. Said, no, I want the girl. So he came to me and I know I have to talk in a different language. And I told him, okay. He said, what do you mean, okay? I help you to have this, your girlfriend back. He said, you're crazy. So why do you say I'm crazy? You're looking for that for 2 years. Now you're saying that I'm crazy? So what's happened here? Okay, he was ambivalent. Okay, and every time when a person has some kind of ambivalency, when you push one side, he'll push the other side. Mm-hmm. So when everybody is telling him, no chance, 2 years, forget about it, she has another boyfriend, he will say, no, I have to get it, I have to get her. And when I told him, I will help you to get her, he said, no chance.
Wow.
Okay, but it wasn't the end of the story because it wasn't a manipulation for me. From my side, it wasn't manipulation because I really said, and I know it from my experience, how can I tell a person, am I God? I'm God. I can tell a person that this is not realistic. I saw really more, I mean, miracles much bigger than that somebody got back to his ex-girlfriend after 2 years. How can I tell him that it's not true? So it was an honest answer. I will do my best to help you to get back to your girlfriends. But I have 2 conditions, I told him.
Okay.
He said, what are the conditions? Say that you will agree to be in your way and that you will not harm yourself or her. He said, no problem. He said, okay, listen, what's the meaning of that, of the condition? Say, I will accept everything that you will say if you're telling me that you will help me to get back to my girlfriends. I said, okay, what you have to do is to get back to your life, to normal life. And the meaning getting back to your normal life is to get back to work, date another girls, continue with your life. And he said, okay, so, but how can I bring my ex-girlfriend back? I said, okay, I'm not sure if I know how to do that, but I really will do the best. And the best, I think, is to not to send her any message today. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. I found out he didn't send her any message yet. Probably she'll be really surprised to find out that full day, no messages. And then tomorrow you'll send her one message. And this message you will say, I'm very sorry about the last 2 years that I was annoying you. I really love you. I really want you to be my girlfriend, my girlfriend. I think that we have to live together. That's it. But I will send you, if it's okay with you, one message a month. Just to remind you that I'm still there. And that I love you and I want to be your boyfriend. That's it.
Wow.
And then, what happened after a month?
What happened?
He got in love with some other girl.
Okay.
Obsessively.
Okay.
And he was agree to work about his obsession because he didn't want to lose the new one.
Okay.
So in this case, I was really respecting his wish to get back to his girlfriend. So really, who am I to say that it's impossible?
And that opened the way to make change in his life.
Right. Because if you agree to be in your way, okay, you target, there is a goal. Okay, and the goal right now is your friend, is your ex-girlfriend. But you really want love. I mean, your value is love. It's not this girlfriend. But
That's
right
the
now,
higher order goal.
right. But for you, it looks like it should be her, and I respect it. Okay, but I will give her a chance to act in a different way. And that's what happened. I learned a lot from this case. I really learned that it's really beneficial to respect the desires of other people unless they are harming the person himself or other people around him.
Yeah, but you really, that approach, you were able to earn his trust enough and to really show him that you are on his side.
Right. And it wasn't manipulation.
No, not at all. Because at the end of the day, okay, if that's your agenda, if you want to get back to her, you need to put your life back together. And that, I mean, I think that's the goal of any therapist. Beautiful, beautiful. So just for the sake of time, I wanted to ask about everything that we've spoken about today and about your resilience program specifically. First of all, one question is, from our conversation today, what do you want people to leave with? And the second is your resilience program today in schools and in general. How can people join in? How can they get involved? And how can they support this movement?
First of all, I want to stay after this talk with hope.
Yes.
That we can do a lot. And that sometimes it's much more simple than we think. And that the reason why simple things working is because basically I think in every person, there is a healthy basis that he can reach this basis and help himself. And the way to do it is not complicated. And you can find help with many self-help programs, not only our program, all over the world. people don't know that that there is a lot of internet programs that help people to get out of depression and anxiety and OCD and actually every psychiatric disorder. And also to know when to go to psychotherapist, when it's too complicated to do it yourself and go to psychotherapy. There are also many programs in schools. Our program is not the only program. Also in Israel is going to be the official one, but even in Israel, there are many other programs, and there are all over the world, there are good programs. Usually programs that are related to brain studies, new brain studies with new techniques that we know that they are working. We know that they are affecting an area of the brains that related to well-being. And that it's not enough not to be sick. It's not enough. We can do much better. We can improve our life. We should respect our desires, but go in a ways that will not hurt ourselves or other people. So don't give up so quickly, and don't try to control completely your life, because you ruin your life if you try to completely control your life. And if specifically people wants to know about this program, or we have a website also in English, Cohen-Harris Resilience Center in Israel. But again, you don't have to go to our program. I mean, go look at your country, at your place, to different programs that related to well-being. Mindfulness is a great area to go. There are many workshops on mindfulness, and I didn't give enough time here to this point. Just remind it in one sentence. But mindfulness, I mean, this direction of learning how to be at the moment is one of the. Maybe that will be a good point to clarify at the end.
Okay.
Is one important part of compassion. Compassion is not a new area, of course, but it's really up to date. Many people are dealing today with compassion, with using compassion to replace criticism. Self-criticism is really harmful. You can criticize your action. That's fine. You're not supposed to criticize yourself. But when you fail, or you feel that you are not doing well, or bad things happening to you, you can criticize yourself. But the other direction is to get compassion. And there are three components of compassion. One component is being at the moment. So if you fail in something, then you should say, I failed right now. Okay? And if you failed right now, you can feel compassion for that. If you'll say, I'm a failure, no compassion for that. So one component is being in the moment. The other component is all these good things that we have that usually we know only how to give to other people. To comfort them, to say we love you, you are okay, never mind that you failed, you are smart, you are fine, you're okay. Just all this good stuff that we have inside to learn how to give it to ourselves. And the third part is understanding that having weaknesses is part of being human being. And this is what is united us with other people. It's not make us different, but this is what is united us. And if you know these 3 points, these 3 dimensions of compassion, you can feel compassion to yourself. When you feel compassion to yourself, the compassion, not as mercy, compassion bring you to change. Believe that you can do better. And if you go, this is also you can find in self-help material, how to practice compassion on yourself, and how to improve your life by that.
Beautiful. That's a great message to end on. Thank you so much, Danny, for coming to speak with us today.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure for me.
For everyone out there listening, thank you for tuning in to The Bigger Picture. I hope you found this conversation interesting. You can find us on all podcasting platforms, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to hit subscribe to stay up to date with the latest episodes. My name is Roni Firon. This is The Bigger Picture, and thank you for listening. Till next time.